Speaking of driving kids to school, a good friend of mine, Robby Glenn, who I actually met through the Jay Barker Radio Network, I guess it's been a couple of years ago, former Alabama baseball player and just all-around great guy. And if you follow him on Facebook, you can see lots of pictures of his son, Stryker, who has been challenged with a TBRS. I hope I'm saying this right, Tatten-Brown-Raman syndrome. Is that correct, Robby?
Yep, that is it.
All right.
Brown-Raman syndrome.
I want, because this is the first time we've actually had you on the Kurre and Klapow show, I want people to understand exactly, and again, if you follow Robby on Facebook, you can really see what a challenge and the love, the enduring love you have for your child through this whole situation. It is heart-wrenching, but it's such a beautiful story that you tell, and your testimony is wonderful. But just talk about what this syndrome is, how it affects your son, and what you've done to deal with it. And then we'll talk about your big golf tournament going on next Friday, which, by the way, I'm going to be playing in, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be great. That's next Friday, so we'll talk about that in a second. But, yeah, Stryker, when he was born, everything looked fine, came out. We had some, complications, which everybody does. And, well, after about a year, we started noticing a few things, the doctor was like, well, we might need to check this. Could never figure it out. Well, one of the things, he didn't like to be on his stomach and raise his head up, go to find out he had a Chiari malformation. So he had to have that surgery at 1.5, which is it's a brain surgery to relieve pressure off the back of the stem, the brain sitting on where, Josh, you probably know that down at the bottom, all his nerves weren't getting through. So when they would raise his head when he was on his stomach, it would pinch all the nerves. So they had to go behind his skull and make the hole a little bigger and so relieve that pressure. So he went through that and everything was fine, but then he started having more delays. And that's when we had to go to genetic testing in Huntsville. And they finally discovered what was going on was Dr. Tatten-Brown, which is out of the UK. It's a development delay, overgrowth syndrome, which we knew he was big, but we just thought because it was me or something, he was just a big kid. But then it just started going all kind of things. We got in touch with Dr. Brown. She came from the UK to New York. So we flew over there with Stryker and met a bunch of other families. He was the only one in the state at the time. And there was only like 16 families in the United States at the time. It was discovered in 2014. So we decided, okay, we're going to start doing these golf tournaments. We're going to raise awareness, get money as best we can. You see how it's grown, and try and get some more research going, because the more people get involved and they start seeing some of these symptoms, they come in and say, hey, I had that symptom, and there's so many different ranges of it. Then we can start getting some more answers. Well, as you know, a lot of people don't. One of the main things that was with him is a febrile seizure. And he had about 15 of them. And those are scary. A lot of parents have dealt with them. The kids outgrow them. Well, he just never outgrew them, and he kept having them. Well, one of them 2 years ago he had, and he was actually in the bed with us when he had it, and he threw up. And when he did, he aspirated. And once he did that, he went limp. Instead of seizing and staying, he just went limp. So we knew something was different. Got him to the hospital as fast as we could, like 6, 7. It's right around the corner from us. But he had, with the lack of oxygen now, he's for the last 2 years, we're dealing with brain damage. And that is something that is maybe his syndrome is not helping with, but that's something we deal with every day now with this brain. They told us he would not make it a month. And that was 2 years ago, and he's still with us. He smiles at me every morning, but every day it's a struggle. But that smile comes through, and it makes it all worth it.
God bless you, man. I mean, I've heard this story before, and every time I hear it, it's just because I mean, I've got a kid with special needs, certainly not to the extent that you do, and the severity of it. I do want to ask you though, because as a parent, we want to try to get all of our ducks in a row, and we want to do whatever we possibly can for our children, particularly from a guy standpoint, because men fix everything. We're fixers, right? And to know that this disease is only 7 or 8 years known. It's got to be incredibly frustrating for you because if you're talking about something that's been around for 50, 60 years, there's all kinds of DNA sequencing and all kinds of different things that you can explore and look at to give your child the best route to be healthy. In your particular case, you're kind of, I don't want to make the analogy with COVID-19, but it's very fluid, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's frustrating. It was very frustrating. My wife just jumped in heads on, and thank God for the internet and all that she was able to research so much, but we still couldn't get any answers, and doctors didn't know it. And there's so many different traits with TBRS. I mean, there's leukemia traits, there's scoliosis, there's immune deficiencies, there's abnormal brain foot, there's the overgrowth that we talk about. So there's so many different things. There's autism. So all these different stuff that go in, until you actually go get the testing, you have no idea if you're even in a TBRS. But because it has developed more, soon as you go get any kind of testing, it goes right to her, and she will check all the DNA, and she'll know if it's hers or not. And you'll get a call. So it's advancing. So we're trying.
Hey, Rob, this is Josh. So
hey, Joe.
Just talk a little bit about, and again, I've followed the Facebook, and so you document it, and you do it in such a courageous and open and authentic way. But given the number of different sort of symptoms and situations that he's in, talk about what a day is like, a non-emergency day, an average day, a normal day. What you and your wife and just sort of what it's like.
All right. Well, I'll send Tony a picture of his med schedule and his feeding. With the brain injury now, he's bedridden. We do pick him up and put him in his wheelchair and bring him out of the living room. We try to get him in the pool if he's feeling good that day, just to do some kind of therapy for his joints, because laying in that bed you get stiff. But basically, it starts every morning at 4:30 with a dose of meds, and it'll be like 3 of them. And we'll start his feeding and water through his G tube. And then he'll have one all the way through till about 12:30, 12:45 at night. Every hour he has something that goes through that juice, whether it's feeding is continuous, his water, or his meds. But also, if, like you said, Stryker will have bad days. But his good days, he still, while I'm gone, my wife is sitting there right now by him watching. Because if he coughs at any time, like he can get excited and laugh, but cough, if you're not there to stick a tube down his throat and suction, you're right back aspirating, and you're calling 911 because he's back in trouble. So she can't take a shower. She can't take anything. You can't walk away. And so it makes it difficult. And at night when you're sleeping, if he stretches, his alarms will go off, like just his beeping, because he stopped breathing for a second just to hold his breath while he stretched. Well, it'll go off. So you're jumping up to make sure the beeping's okay. So, you get maybe 2 hours. But again, it's Stryker. I mean, things work funny. I'm mad that it has happened to him, like any one parent would be. But man, when he smiles, man, you forget all the stuff you're going through just to see that smile again. So we'll keep on fighting as long as he is.
Robbie, do you have help? Do you get help? I mean, it's just
we did, Josh, and we had nurses that would come by, but when the COVID hit,
oh right,
the nurses are working at the hospital. Well, they're working with patients with COVID. Then they're coming to the house, even though they're wearing gowns, and it's a high risk right there.
Yes.
And not to mention, we have had nurses come and they say, "Hey, I can't handle this." It's a whole new ballgame when you're with him, because one, it's an overgrowth. So he has now just turned 6. So he's about 4'4" now, and he's on a feeding tube. He used to be about 70 something, but he had a bad July and August. So he's about 64 pounds. But when he does throw up, you have to be able to one hand pick him up, turn, and stick a tube down, which my wife does it amazing. I don't know how she does it, but so a lot of nurses aren't ready for that. And even if they have been dealing with it before, it's a whole new ballgame. And, but the COVID really came at a bad time for us. That you have to be even more protective. And it's funny, y'all were not funny, but y'all were talking about a lot of things that I deal with right now. Get the shot, immunization, and then you switch right into talk about PANS and dementia and all that. And I'm dealing with all that in my house right now. I got my mom, I can't go see in a home. She's got dementia, but because of COVID, they won't let people see her. We have people that come over. I don't ask if you're vaccinated. I got vaccinated. Would I have if Stryker wasn't sick? I don't know. It's a scary time, but if there's a 1% that I can keep it away from Stryker, yeah, I'll get. Me and my wife both did. So did our other son.
Yeah, Robby Glenn joins us here on the Kurre and Klapow show on the Tony Kurre Radio Network. His son is challenged with Tatten-Brown-Raman syndrome, TBRS. You mentioned when you found out, it's only been around since 2014, or that's when it was first diagnosed. When you found out that you were the only one in the state, and then you flew to New York, and then you met these other families, have you found you've been dealt a really difficult hand here, but you're doing everything you possibly can. You're a trailblazer for other families that quite frankly probably didn't even know what their children had at that time, and you're bringing to light all the wonderful things that you can make through and endure through this horrible syndrome. But what have you learned since he's done? Because at the age of 6. He pretty much was, you can make an argument, one of the first ones that they knew of or could document that he had TBRS. Well, what are you finding across the country? And I'm sure a lot of people are reaching out to you for support.
Yeah.
You're taking care of your kid, and people are like, please tell us more.
Yeah, we do. I mean, and these families still do. We have a whole support group. We're on Facebook, TBRS page, and they follow. And a lot of people will say, hey, my son has done this. And that's when my wife gets involved. And, she is very, like, she was on the board, and that's where the golf tournaments came from. But she was getting all this information and getting to more families, and more people were contacting us. But when his brain injury happened, it kind of put us into a whole new realm. And not saying I still talk to the TBRS families every day, and I post, and they're following the golf tournament, and I talk. But now we're dealing with a whole new thing, and that's the brain injury. And there's a lot of families that are in our TBRS that have lost their kids already. And that's a tough thing. And I don't want to come up with that day, and we know it's coming. Because, anoxic brain injury that we're dealing with now, like there's just no research with that. There's brain injuries, but those are all falls, wrecks, stuff like that, blunt hits to the head. And anoxic is like a drowning and just lack of oxygen, which he had. And like they said, they didn't think he would ever come out. He was in a coma for the month, and we were in children's for 5.5, that he would never wake up. He would never open his eyes. If he did, he couldn't see, And they told us all that. Well, he can see, and he's still here. But yeah, we fight. But now they're telling us, because he has been getting sick lately, July and August was bad. We were in children's again, stopped breathing 3 times, ambulance ride, giving him CPR. It's his regular doctor too. He's like, hey, I told you, this is where you're heading. So go ahead and prepare for it.
Yeah.
If you can get 2 years, great. So that's hard.
I can't imagine.
Every day we're glad he's there, but every day we wake up to see if we have him. Let's put it that way. And that's a tough wake up for any parent.
I cannot imagine, man.
Robbie, how do you and your wife get not just get through, because you can't just get through. I mean, you got something there with Stryker that is keeping you and your wife here, that's keeping you engaged. But I mean, I think a lot of people, they need to hear this. How does a married couple, and I'm not trying to move it away from Stryker, but how do you do that? I mean, what do you do? How do you do that?
It's really hard, Josh. I'm telling you, I mean, marriage is tough anyways, but now you throw this in. So do we fight? Yes. So there's times where she has to walk outside or go, and it's not because of us. It's just the tension and the lack of sleep, frustration. And we have other kids too. My daughter had to move out of the house because she's a senior in high school, and it's hard to interact and go and be a senior and come back to the house worried if you're going to give something to your brother. So we had to sacrifice there. I had to quit coaching softball. I was fast pitch travel. Quit that. She had to quit her job to stay home with Stryker. It's tough. We get through it. And again, we can sit here and dwell on it or enjoy what we have with Stryker right now. And that's what we do. And this golf tournament and friends like Tony and Jay and everybody that gets involved, that makes it so much better. Cause I mean, they want to help and they get excited and people come by and see Stryker and, you know, keep them at a distance, but this golf tournament, everything keeps my mind going. I get up to go to work every day and whether it's from home or whatever. And I just keep driving because he's fighting harder than I am. It's harder on him than it is me by far.
Yeah, let's talk about the golf tournament because is this your second one, your third one? How many have you done?
This is our third. The first one we did at Bentbrook, and Jay went live from the air there. You know, playing baseball at Alabama, I got a lot of connections still, and all my friends. And Tony, I got to go back now. It wasn't 2 years ago you met me at Jay. Me and you go way back in the club business, man. Studio days for the contest.
I do remember those days. I do.
Yeah,
the first time I set my eyes on you, yes, I do remember. Yes.
A little Brandy Wiggly and stuff, like all our friends. But yeah, we go way back. But so the first annual, because my wife was on the TBRS board, she's like, we'll come up with some ways to raise money. I think my husband could throw a golf tournament. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what? And she goes, yeah, can you do it next month? I said, next month? No. So we did that first one, and we had like 28 teams. It was good. First rent. But now it's the third annual. We got 62 teams, which is probably too many, but we're going to make it work. Everyone's going to have fun. 62 teams, AM, PM, shotgun. I think I have a tent almost every hole at Highland Park downtown. Got a DJ going to play. I got two guys that are going to do guitar when he's not playing. Kobe Malay and Steven. They're gonna just do some singing. I got Trustville Cigars is going to be there with rum and walk-ons, like you name it. We got people there for something to have fun. And Tony, you're going to be there, and it's going to be a good time.
I cannot wait because I've been wanting to play in this golf tournament for the last couple of years, and I just haven't been able to do so. So I cannot wait to get out there in that early shotgun start, 8:00. So I know you're sold out, and again, I'm assuming you'll do a fourth, and this will go on for a long period of time because you're super successful with it, and you've got a wonderful platform. You've been challenged, and you've taken it, and you're finding a silver lining to all this. How can people help? Not only help recognize what this syndrome does and how it affects families, but how can they help down the road? Can they stop by and give donations, or can they follow you somewhere? Tell people how they can help out through this challenging time for you.
Well, like I said, Jay will he has something on his show that he has our Stryker Strong page is on Facebook. I'll give you my number. You've got it, my cell. They can call me anytime. But yes, if you want to come by the golf course, next Friday, the 24 Highland, like I said, I'll have a DJ. I have something going on. People can come in there, donate to TBRS or to Stryker. And also this year, because of the brain injury, we are trying to find avenues to help families with brain injuries. It's been a little harder to get in that because doctors can't give out information like that. Mm-hmm. But they have reached out to families to contact us, and we want to help families that are dealing like we are, help them with equipment. Because the stuff's expensive. That's why we do these tournaments. Try and get a nurse to them. Maybe theirs isn't as advanced as Stryker and just need a little help where they can go take a shower or go outside and have a nurse there if we can pay that extra. Stryker Strong on Facebook, or at my number is 205-767-8400. You can call, text, or get in touch with you.
Yep.
Now, as bad as I hate to say this, but I will always do these golf tournaments. At least in my mind, I am. Now, sure. I don't know what happened. If Stryker passes, I'll still do these because I am going to do something to always have Stryker going. Okay, that's my goal, my life, and I'm going to raise money to help TBRS always and other families and kids with brain injuries.
Robby, man, we love you, man, and thank you for going through this story. I know you've been asked about it a million times, and I know your heart and what you've done, and you're making the best of the situation. I appreciate you coming on the show. You're always welcome here. We will continue to championed and carried the flag for you and your challenges, and certainly for your son. And I would implore people to go to your page, the Robby Glenn page, and you give updates. Seems like almost hourly. And you got
I try to give as many updates.
And I love it. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday morning. I'll be there a little early, and we'll get after it, and we'll have a great day on the golf course, and to make the best of what we got going on here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you, Robby. Appreciate you. There he is, Robby Glenn. I mean,
yeah.
First time, and we've known each other for a long period of time.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have a lot of people that walk up to me and go, you know me for 30 years. I'm like, really? And then they start, we kind of forget about those days. But, man, hashtag perspective. You want to put things in perspective.
Yeah.
And to know that this is something that really is tough, that it's a relatively new diagnosis. Is something that, has been out since the 80s or whatever. You've got data, you've got sequencing, you've got things you can look at. I've done it with my son, and you just try to find the best path to navigate to make things as comfortable and as fun as enjoyable for your kid. And again, no kid deserves to go through any of this stuff, but there's a reason why things happen like this, and he has taken this to a different level to help not only bring awareness to what kids do and suffer through TBRS, but also to help other families. So I love him for what he's doing, and that's his gift. That's what he's been put on earth for right now anyway to do, and he's doing a great job of it. So,
one of the things, and that's why I asked him the question that I did, is obviously there's the focus, sole focus or primary focus on Stryker and all of his needs, but Robby lives. Robby lives in this world. He lives with his wife. And the reason I asked that question is when and I wasn't going to, but when you listen to not just what they have to do to keep Stryker as comfortable as possible, but there's literally could be an emergency at any moment.
And there is.
And there is. And like he said, particularly because of COVID, the medical help that is usually there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going there, but let's all stop.
I mean, it's
let's
true,
stop
man.
and think about this. The medical help that can be there.
Yeah.
They're doing this on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting in suctioning tubes. They're flipping him in emergency situations. It is it speaks to, and they're doing it in a way where they're still living a life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you said perspective. I call it grit.
Oh,
it's grit. And even when he's talking about his story here, he's talking about it, and I've seen the Facebook posts, it's so much broader.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just talking about Stryker. He's talking about Stryker and the life that they all live.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy for a lot of us to feel brokenhearted, but to also be so detached from it because it's not us.
Yep.
And that's the part that I appreciate his willingness on Facebook and here on our show to talk about how do you live.
Yeah. You can Google TBRS to find out more details on that, and go to Stryker Strong on the Facebook page of the Robby Glenn Facebook page to help out. And again, thanks for his time this morning. And he was like, I don't know what my schedule's like, because he never knows what his schedule's like. So an amazing guy, an amazing family, amazing wife, and he's doing the best he possibly can.